and we've got a dynamic day packed. So I know a lot of you were there yesterday whenever the governor's train pulled in, and that was a lot of fun, but that was yesterday, and that's receding into the past. Today is the start of the future, and the future is bright because now we are connected to the Northeast Corridor and the rest of the world through Amtrak rail service. So with that, I'm going to turn it over now to a friend of mine, and what he's going to talk about today, he's going to talk about federal and how today plays into federal. Danny, we got some housekeeping items?
Yes, we actually have a better option. We have an ability to talk over the microphone. So I'm going to ask our fantastic speakers to come into the back.
We're going to do it one more time.
They will be pulling off their best do this act. Remember, keep your hands to yourself.
Can everybody hear me in this car?
Oh my
God. All right, is that better?
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Okay, can everybody hear me? Raise your hand up front. Perfect. Okay, what you don't know is that I'm totally sick right now, and so yelling at the top of my lungs was not as much fun as it might seem. So now that everyone can hear, is this just one car that can hear, or is it both cars?
Just one.
Okay, super. We're going to have a very special program today. We're going to have a few folks address us right now on the train, and then we're going to have another set of individuals address us once we get up to the Senate building. A few housekeeping items. When we get to Union Station, we all need to stay together as a group and calmly walk over to the Senate building. It's a straight shot, but we all need to stay together. Make sure to take every single item that you brought on this train with you, because we're coming back today, but we're not coming back on the same train. So if you leave it on here, someone up in New York or Boston is really going to enjoy your belongings. So make sure to bring it with you. I'm going to turn the mic over to my friend Chris DeLacy here, and he's going to share with you a little bit about the federal transportation landscape. Chris?
Thank you very much. Can everybody hear me? Well, thank you very much for letting me join you here today. My name is Chris DeLacy. I'm a partner in Holland & Knight in Washington, D.C. I am going to give you a very brief overview of the federal landscape as it applies to transportation and rail. And if anyone has any questions, feel free to speak up or grab me afterwards. I'm happy to have an offline discussion. I'm going to begin by just giving you an overview of where the federal landscape in general is. I'm sure that most of us here have been following at least a little bit what's going on with the fiscal cliff discussions between the Speaker and the President of the United States. Despite what you're reading in the press, those talks are progressing. It does look like there's going to be a deal, and so I am cautiously optimistic that the next 2 years will be significantly more productive than the previous 2 years when it comes to activity in Congress. And I think that is a very good sign for lots of folks, the entire country, but transportation and rail in particular. I think that's a very hopeful sign. I think the President said that after the election, the fever would break, and I think that's probably a pretty accurate description. I think a lot of the pressure that had built up prior to the election has been relieved, and we should have a window here of about 6 months or so before people start focusing on the midterm elections where Congress and the President can actually get some meaningful work done. As far as transportation goes, the landscape, I think, is improving. We have a new incoming ranking member on the Senate Commerce Committee, which deals with transportation issues, including rail issues. And that person will be John Thune, who's a senator from South Dakota. You probably heard earlier in the week that Senator DeMint from South Carolina was going to retire from the Senate and take over as head of the Heritage Foundation. And that is a very, very positive thing. I think it's safe to say that Senator DeMint would not have been a major proponent of transportation and not a proponent of rail and Amtrak in particular. So the fact that he is going to leave the Senate is a positive thing on this issue. The fact that Senator Thune is likely to take his place is another positive development. When earlier in his political career, Senator Thune was the head of the State Railroad Commission in South Dakota. At one point, he was a lobbyist for the railroad industry in South Dakota. So I think that he understands rail issues and supports them. And I think that he will be an ally in what we are trying to accomplish in bringing high-speed rail to Virginia. And on the other side of the aisle with the Senate Commerce Committee, Senator Rockefeller will remain as chairman. Although he's focused primarily on other issues such as air transportation and freight rail, I think he is a friend of passenger rail and will be a constructive partner going forward. There is some speculation that Senator Rockefeller will retire rather than run for re-election in 2014. It has been announced that Shelley Moore Capito may challenge him in West Virginia, and so if Senator Rockefeller were to leave, Senator Kerry's next in line. It's likely that he'll stay with the Foreign Relations Committee. Senator Boxer would be after that. He'll probably stay with the Environment and Public Works Committee. So Bill Nelson from Florida is probably the person that would take over as the top Democrat on that committee after 2014. On the House side, the current chairman of the Transportation and Infrastructure Committee, which deals with rail issues, is John Mica. John Mica will be turning over his gavel to Bill Schuster in the next Congress, and for passenger rail, that is an extremely positive development. Chairman Mica has taken his last few months as chairman to really take on Amtrak, and he's really become a critic. And I think for all of us here who care about these issues, this transition to Bill Schuster will be a positive one. He is a supporter of transportation generally and of rail in particular. I think it will be a much more friendly audience than Chairman Mica has been. And so I think that the stars are aligning both in Congress and in Washington in general, and particularly with transportation and rail issues, to get a lot accomplished, and I'm very bullish on those prospects. Just a couple other footnotes here. As part of the fiscal cliff negotiations, one of the items that is part of the discussion is increasing the federal gas tax. It's unclear whether that will be included in a final package or not, but I think it's worth noting that that's part of the discussion. I know that's an issue that the state is contemplating right now, what to do with the state gas tax, and I think Thelma Drake will perhaps speak to those issues, but at least at the federal level, they're contemplating increasing that. Also, there will be a passenger rail reauthorization, very likely this year. It expires at the end of 2013. That will be an opportunity to accomplish some of the goals that we all share for promoting rail and growth. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to Thelma Drake, and like I said, I'm happy to answer any questions offline that you may have. So thank you.
Good morning, everyone. Okay, now I figured out how to make it work. I can see them waiting down there. But I just wanted to say good morning to everyone and to thank you for being on this first service out of Norfolk, such a historic trip, and I know we're all celebrating having this service out of Norfolk. I think it was, and I think yesterday, with the large number of people that were on our train, there were almost 300 people on the inaugural train yesterday. I don't know how many at Harbor Park, but I would venture somewhere between 1,000 and 1,500 people. I did not expect such a large crowd, and it was fantastic. So thank you for being part of that, too. I also think that was very good for us